Hey guys, I know I've made a couple of silly videos recently, but I'll do this one properly. I can't promise though that it's going to be the usual overhyping that you might see elsewhere. I just want to address a comment that I got this morning, and it's not, I don't mind the comment, that's completely fine, I can understand why someone might think that, but I feel like it makes sense if I clarify what this channel is, why I made it, and what you can expect to see on it. I made this channel back when I didn't really know what I was doing. I made it for fun. I joined a montage team years and years and years ago. I was trying to just have a laugh, upload some cool clips if I could hit anything, which usually I don't. I tried to have a laugh with some funny clips if things went wrong. And later on, I used this channel for trying to be more useful. I tried to discuss tuning, push community ideas, thoughts. I tried to help the game. That's all this channel has ever been and all I intend for it to ever to be. This was never going to be a general gaming news channel. I don't find that interesting. I think there's much better places to get information like that, such as the official sources. So this channel is not going to be that because I don't want to make that sort of content. I think it's boring and pointless because you can see that elsewhere. But this video, I just wanted to clarify that to start with, but I will actually go into Gears Reloaded and explain my thoughts and just address some of the comments I see online, try and answer this commenter's unhappiness for some reason that I've not discussed this already. So yeah, I'll just emphasise, if you want Gears news, the best place to see that is via official sources such as the Gears of War accounts. No one in the community is gonna know anything before they announce it. Simple as that. So if you want to see it, look there. Any videos like this after the fact are just regurgitating what's already been announced to us, so just look there and you can see for yourself. But that's not judging. If you prefer it in this form, then fair enough, but I'm just going to recommend you look there. Whilst I wouldn't sit there and just cover Gears news as it comes out, if anything cool or interesting comes out, yes, obviously I'll talk about it. I might make a video about it. For me, this isn't something interesting, and I don't want that to seem like mindless hating, negative. I just don't find it interesting, and I'll explain why. This week, Xbox and PlayStation announced that Gears of War Reloaded is coming August this year. That sounds cool. It will be coming to Xbox Series X and S, Xbox PC, Cloud, PlayStation 5 and Steam. It does sound cool to bring platforms together. But what is Gears Reloaded? Here's what I can see. Gears of War released in 2006. It was then remastered in 2015. Gears Reloaded seems to be a remaster of the remaster. What does that mean? Well, here's the information that's listed. To me, it looks like a remaster of Gears UE, which is already a remaster of Gears 1. So this is something we've played, but let's carry on. It's going to be improving video quality and audio quality. You'll now be able to play it at 4K with higher FPS. How exciting that is. Here's the thing though, I don't think that's a bad thing. Improving the quality of the game can only ever be a great thing, and for a new player, that's the experience you'd want them to have. But that's my point though. A brand new player will have a good first impression. Xbox players, this feels more like you're getting a texture pack for a game you've had for 10 or 20 years, depending on how you want to look at it. If you want to play that game, it's been available for a very long time already. Go and have fun on it. You don't need to wait until August if you're excited to play. You can go and do that now if you really want to. What's stopping you? Gears of War 1 isn't a new game. The remaster of Gears of War 1 is 10 years old already. It's there for you. Please, if that's the sort of thing you enjoy, go and enjoy it. Then we got years worth of newer titles that improve the gameplay, mainly focusing on movement style. The newer games introduce something called a wall cancel. This is a movement mechanic that prevents a player from having to clunkily latch onto a wall. It allows for smoother movement. As times move forward, so has player expectations across the board. That's not just for Gears. Players prefer smooth movement in their games. As can be seen by a poll here by Gears Intel, I really hope he doesn't mind me using this poll. Credit to him fully for gathering this info. It's just a great example of what I am trying to present here. About 2/3 of the players who voted here voted in favour of wall cancelling. Whilst this isn't a conclusive opinion of the entire player base, it's a reasonable sample size to gain an idea of how players feel. Here's the thing though, I do often see people try and make the argument that wall bouncing and wall cancelling aren't the same thing. And technically that's true. Technically Gears 1 had wall bouncing because you would quickly put off a wall. But I do feel like anyone with common sense and any level of honesty knows that if people are talking about wall bouncing, generally they're talking about wall bouncing with wall cancelling. That's kind of, they both go together. So whilst not a literal we can't rule Gears 1 out, it's kind of obvious what everyone's talking about. So I believe this poll, people voted thinking about Gears 2 onwards. That is my belief. Why does this matter? Well, I look at Gears UE, and in my opinion, this is a significant reason for why the game appeared to lose population relatively quickly. I've seen people make all sorts of claims to the reason why people stopped playing UE as a way of avoiding the movement topic. They say things like it's not getting any new content and just silly things like that. Fact is, people will play things they enjoy and won't play things that they don't enjoy. You don't need new content for players that actively want to stick around in the game. Just take a look at Gears 3. That game's still in the original state. That released in 2011. That's either on a console most people don't have, or it can be emulated back via the newer consoles or cloud. But I see more focus on people wanting to play Gears 3 rather than UE. Gears 3 doesn't have any new content either, so does that argument really stand? Personally, I don't think so. But let's make it make sense. We all know why the majority of people stopped playing UE. They stopped because they didn't enjoy that gameplay style. It's as simple as that. Now, I'm not saying no one enjoys it. I'm saying not enough people enjoy it. And the poll I showed earlier from Gears Intel, I believe, supports that claim. That caused the population to drop to a point whereby the matchmaking become too problematic for the minority of players who do enjoy that gameplay to continue playing. I'd like to add some clarity though. I'm not saying Gears 1's a bad game. It's absolutely not. I think it's a fantastic game. I love the story, I love the atmosphere, and the overall nostalgia from it. It sits with me too. I remember those old days. They were great, and that's what I think a lot of us do remember. But I can be honest about it, and I can recognise that it feels like it's old, and perhaps that's not the best thing to introduce new players to in that state. With that, what do I see happening? I think the existing community will play it because it's going to have players on it, which in itself I think is quite sad that we've reached a point where that's even a factor. I think that many people will remember why they stopped playing UE, and I think they'll stop again within a matter of a few months. I don't think that Steam players being included is a huge factor. I think that many players who use Steam also have access to the Xbox PC version. I think if they wanted to play it, they would have done. I think the main focus is on PlayStation players. The cost for PlayStation players will be $40 or $39.99, which is universal for all platforms, which in today's market is pretty reasonable. I think this is a smart move to attract new players on that platform who haven't played Gears of War before. I'll now put myself into that situation rather than theorising on other people. If I'm in that situation, what would I do? How would I feel if I'd got that game I'd never played before? I'd play the campaign. Depending on whether I enjoyed it or not, would impact whether I play the multiplayer. I can't predict whether people will enjoy the campaign or not, though personally I think it's great, so I see no reason why they wouldn't think it's good. After they complete the campaign, let's assume half of them try the multiplayer. I think that's a reasonable estimate, but I've absolutely no idea. It doesn't really matter, I don't think, but let's say half, just for an example. How long are they going to play for? I think it's unlikely to expect new players on a game that they bought for cheap to all become dedicated players who grind each day. But I'll look at it without that assumption. I'll come back to what I said earlier about how modern audiences prefer smoother movement. Those brand new players who've never played Gears before, other than the campaign experience they've probably just tried out, they're going to get against people who we've had to put up with for years, who camp, who lancer, who do anything they can to make the match unenjoyable. As a new player, that's not something I'd be remotely interested in. I wouldn't even want to consider trying to improve at that game. I would not want to give it any time. I'd think, well, the campaign was good, the multiplayer is probably not for me. I wouldn't think twice about turning that off and likely never going back to it, because that's just not my interest. There's so many other things out there for me now. Why would I go back to retry a game that I've not spent that much money on when my experience wasn't that great? That raises a bigger question. What's the point of Gears Reloaded? Is it just purely just to put one game out there that's already been out there? I don't think that makes that much sense. Now, I'm not going to claim to have any insider information or anything like that, but I can give my opinion, and I think it raises a bigger question to where are they taking this? To me, I think it's obvious that this is the start of a Gears of War being put on PlayStation for the long term. To me, it just doesn't make sense to put one game from the original three on there. And whilst I'm not saying this is happening, this is what I think makes the most sense. I think us seeing Gears Reloaded, which is the remaster of UE, which is the remaster of Gears 1, that feels more like a teaser because it's just too illogical in my opinion. I think that it's either going to happen all at once or be staggered, but I think we're going to see remasters of Gears 2 and Gears 3. And I think they will also be available on all the platforms so that PlayStation players aren't left without a full story. Because look at it from the other perspective, if you're a PlayStation player, why would you want to buy Gears 1 to play the Gears 1 story that's left on a cliffhanger when there's 2 more games after that that tell that same story that aren't included in something you can purchase on your platform? I don't think that makes sense personally, so I think that's why we might likely see remasters of Gears 2 and 3. Will it happen soon? I don't know. If we look at it from that stance though, I think this is much bigger news than we currently think, and I think that would actually be worth talking about. I say this because it'll include 2 games that the community have practically begged to return, which I think will increase the overall population much more than merely bringing one Gears back again. I still doubt too many PlayStation players will become dedicated, but they'd have a strong foundation of games to grasp the universe, which then might have them interested in E-Day, as the story of that likely links together with the other 3 master games, if we're speculating they exist. Then we look at the future. Who knows? Maybe they'll remaster Gears 4, Gears 5, and put that on PlayStation as well. And then Gears 6, that might then go on to PlayStation, and all future Gears might go onto all platforms moving forward. That'll be a great way of bringing all the players together. All the players have the same stories, and they're all at the same point moving forward. I think that if the vision's something big like that, then this could work out great. This could just be the teaser for something way greater. As it stands now, though, based on the announcement and the news we've had now, I'm genuinely not excited to play that game. And I'm sorry if that comes across toxic or like, oh, I'm not a fan. I don't believe that. I believe there's a reason for why I'm not interested. I don't enjoy that type of game. I've seen that game be released once before. I've seen that game be remastered once before. And I've not enjoyed the gameplay in terms of movement either time. I'm not going to enjoy it just because it's got higher FPS, higher resolution, higher textures, better audio. I'm not interested. I didn't want to play it back then, and I don't want to play it now, but that's not to say I hope people don't enjoy it. I hope that this brings enough players together so that people who do enjoy it do have a game they can play on consistently. I just have my doubts as to whether that will happen or not. Before anyone comments that I could go back and play Gears 2 or 3 now if I wanted to, I can't. I gave my consoles away years ago, and cloud gaming is just far too laggy. Also, the servers on those games, they're offline now. UE doesn't have that same excuse for why people aren't populating it anymore, so I think that leaves a conversation to be had if we're being honest about it, doesn't it? So to my commenter, I hope this is me covering Gears Reloaded for you. Have a good day.
They do not understand. They do not know why we wage this war. Why we cannot stop. Will not stop. Why we will fight and fight and fight. Until we win. Or we die. And we are not dead.